The Alari fleet drifted silently through the black emptiness of space. Small lights blinked weakly along the broken ships. Some vessels were damaged, others completely destroyed. Smoke and sparks floated into the void, disappearing into the darkness. The survivors huddled in the few functioning ships, trying to keep life support running and hope alive. Liraine, a young Alari scientist, moved carefully through the corridors of one of the larger ships. Her body was thin, and her skin had a faint blue tint, common for her kind. She had spent most of her life studying stars and planets, but now science could not save her people. She paused in front of a console and typed a final message into the system. Her hands shook. "Help us," she whispered. "Please. Someone. Anyone." Her voice echoed softly in the empty room. She had no expectation that anyone would hear her message. Most civilizations in the galaxy ignored small species, like the Alari. They considered them weak, unimportant, and not worth helping. But Liraine had to try. Even if no one came, she wanted her words to exist, to leave a record that they had tried to survive. Far across the galaxy, on a small moon base orbiting Earth, Logan Ward sat at a communications console. He was young, barely 28, with messy brown hair and tired green eyes. The base was quiet, as it often was. Most of the time, his work was routine, monitoring signals from distant satellites, making sure the communication networks were stable. But today, something unusual caught his attention. A faint transmission flickered on the screen. It was weak and broken, almost drowned out by static. Logan leaned closer. The signal carried strange words and an unfamiliar rhythm. He tried to decode it. "Captain, you might want to see this," he called, keeping his voice low. Laura Green, the captain of the moon base's exploration and rescue team, walked over. She was in her mid-30s, with short brown hair and a calm, steady presence. She glanced at the screen. "Where did this come from?" she asked. "I don't know," Logan admitted. "It's not human. I've never seen anything like it. The message is asking for help, and it repeats over and over, like it's desperate." Laura frowned. "Desperate how?" Logan tapped a few keys. The translation software struggled, but gave rough results. "They say their home is destroyed. They say their species is dying. They are pleading for help across the galaxy." Laura's eyes narrowed. "And no one else is answering?" "Not that I can see. I ran it through every relay we have." Laura took a deep breath. She had seen many dangerous places in the galaxy. She had led teams into storms, through collapsing planets, and past hostile alien patrols. She knew the risks, but she also knew something else. Humanity had the ability to act where others would not. "Prepare the team," she said quietly. In the Alari fleet, Liraine finished sending her final message. She didn't know how long it would last. Some ships had shields barely holding together, and life support systems were failing. She looked out the viewport at a nearby asteroid field. Fragments of rock and metal drifted slowly past, like ghosts frozen in space. She hugged her knees to her chest and whispered to herself, "Someone has to hear us. Someone has to come." Laura called the team together. It was a small, specialized group trained to work in the most dangerous and unforgiving parts of space. Adam Cole, the engineer, was first to arrive. He was tall and strong, with a quiet confidence and hands that could fix almost anything. Nina Brooks, the medic, followed. She had a warm presence and a calm voice that reassured the most frightened survivors. Carter Hill, the heavy scout, arrived next. He was muscular and brave, always ready to face danger head-on. Finally, Maria Lane, the pilot, stepped in. She was fast and precise, able to guide any ship through impossible conditions. Laura explained the situation. We've received a distress call from an alien fleet. Their species is called the Alari. Their world was destroyed, and they are being hunted. Many civilizations have ignored them. But we cannot. We will go. We will bring them to safety." The team exchanged looks. None of them spoke doubt, though each felt a twinge of fear. They had faced danger before, but this mission was different. It wasn't about exploration or scientific discovery. It was about saving an entire species from extinction. Adam rubbed his chin. "Do we even know what we are going into?" "No," Laura admitted. "But we know their message is real. We know they are in danger. And we know if we don't go, no one else will." Maria adjusted her flight gloves. "Then let's get going. I want to fly a ship that makes history." On the Alari ship, Liraine continued to monitor the damaged communication systems. She had begun to lose hope. Every hour, the fleet drifted closer to a cluster of unstable stars. Radiation was increasing, and systems were failing. Her people were tired, scared, and many were injured. She tried to stay strong for them, but it was not easy. Suddenly, the static on the console changed. A new signal appeared. It was strong, clear, and unlike anything she had expected. The words were not Alari, but the tone was calm, confident, and human. Liraine's heart leaped. She had never believed anyone would respond. Could it be a mistake? She decoded the words slowly. "We heard your message. We are coming." For the first time in days, Liraine allowed herself to hope. Back on the moon base, Laura and her team prepared the rescue cruiser. The ship was reinforced, built to handle the harshest environments, from exploding stars to collapsing planets. Cargo bays were stocked with food, water, and medical supplies. Shields were upgraded, weapons checked, engines tested. The team moved with practiced precision, knowing that any mistake could cost lives. Logan remained behind to monitor communications and assist with navigation. He watched the ship lift off and enter the stars. The moon base grew smaller in the distance, and the blackness of space surrounded the crew. For a moment, silence fell. Then Maria's voice broke the quiet. "Let's bring them home." The journey to the Alari fleet was long and dangerous. The human ship passed through regions filled with asteroids, radiation storms, and gravitational anomalies. Each hazard tested the team's skill and courage. Maria guided the ship with skill and precision, dodging obstacles that would have destroyed most vessels. Adam monitored the engines, keeping them running at maximum efficiency. Carter and Nina stayed alert, ready to respond to any emergencies. Laura coordinated everything, calm and steady, as always. Meanwhile, the Alari fleet drifted closer to the unstable star cluster. Liraine watched the lights of her people dim as systems failed. She began to fear that even if help arrived, it might be too late. But she held on to the memory of the human voice she heard over the console, promising rescue. Hours turned into days. The crew of the human ship did not rest. They pushed through fatigue, hunger, and fear, driven by the knowledge that lives depended on them. Slowly, the lights of the Alari fleet appeared in the distance. Broken ships floated in a line, some barely moving, others completely still. Laura's voice came over the intercom. "There they are. Let's make sure everyone gets out alive." Liraine saw the human ship approach. It was unlike any vessel she had ever seen. It was strong, fast, and brimming with confidence. For the first time, she felt the weight of hope in her chest. She ran to the bridge and called the fleet together. "They are here," she said softly. "Humans. They came." The Alari looked at each other in disbelief. Many had given up hope. Many had assumed the galaxy had forgotten them. But now, humans were arriving, willing to risk everything for strangers. Laura docked the ship with careful precision. She and her team prepared to board the Alari vessel. They moved with caution, knowing the ships were fragile and the environment dangerous. Adam and Carter carried repair tools and weapons. Nina carried medical supplies. Maria stayed in the pilot seat, ready to respond at a moment's notice. Lorraine met them at the docking bay. She was small and frail compared to the humans, but her eyes burned with intelligence and curiosity. She stared at Laura and the team, unable to speak at first. Laura extended her hand. "We are here to help. You are not alone anymore." Lorraine hesitated. Then, slowly, she took the hand. Her hope, long buried under fear and despair, began to grow. For the first time in many days, the Alari smiled. They had sent a message into the galaxy, and someone had answered. Humans, fierce and unafraid, had heard their plea, and they had come. The stars shone silently around them. The darkness of space remained, but inside the broken fleet, a new light was rising. Humanity had arrived, and with them, the hope of survival. The human team moved carefully through the corridors of the largest Alari ship. Broken lights flickered overhead, and the hum of damaged systems filled the silence. Every step reminded them how fragile this fleet had become. Lorraine followed closely, pointing out the worst damage areas. "This section is almost completely shut down," she said, her voice quiet. "Life support is failing. Many of the smaller ships can't hold power for more than a few hours." Adam Cole examined the control panels. Sparks jumped from exposed wires, and alarms flashed in irregular patterns. "We'll need to reroute power from the backup generators," he said. "It won't hold long, but it will buy us time." Nina Brooks knelt beside a small Alari child whose breathing was shallow. The child's blue skin was paler than usual, and he shivered despite the artificial warmth of the ship. Nina adjusted the life support mask and whispered, "You'll be fine. We'll take care of you." And Lorraine watched, unable to speak at first. She had spent years studying the stars, but she had never seen a species like humans. They were calm, practical, and fearless. They did not panic at the sight of suffering. They moved through the chaos with purpose and care. Laura Green walked down the corridor, observing her team and the Alari. Her eyes were steady, scanning for any danger. She stopped at a section where smoke rose from damaged conduits. "Carter, I need you to check that section," she said. "Adam, see if you can stabilize the main generator." Carter Hill nodded. He carried a heavy toolkit and a portable shield. He pushed past the smoke and sparks with confidence. Despite the danger, he moved carefully, protecting both himself and the Alari around him. Adam crouched beside the generator and opened the panel. Inside, circuits were burnt, wires loose, and the cooling system nearly destroyed. "This is bad," he muttered. "But I can reroute the main power. We'll lose some systems, but the critical areas will stay alive." Maria Lane stayed near the docking bay, monitoring the ship's position. "I don't like leaving the ship unattended," she said, eyes on the sensors. "If this structure fails while they're in here, we might lose them all." Laura placed a hand on her shoulder. "We'll manage. Just keep an eye on the external systems. We can't control everything inside, but we can control the ship's movement and stability." Hours passed. Adam worked tirelessly, rewiring circuits, connecting backup power lines, and testing each section as he went. Sweat dripped down his forehead, and his hands were stained with grease, but he did not stop. Slowly, lights began to flicker on in the damaged corridors. Alari, who had been huddled in fear, peeked out from behind doors and corners. Nina moved from patient to patient, giving water, medicine, and reassurance. The children were frightened, unsure of these strange new beings. Yet the gentle words and steady care of humans calmed them. Lorraine helped where she could, learning quickly from Nina's methods. Carter returned from the smoke-filled corridor, carrying the damaged conduits. "I think this section will hold for a few hours," he said. We can move on to the next. We need to stabilize the smaller ships before they fail completely. Laura nodded. Good. We need to prepare the fleet for movement. We can't stay in this area long. The star cluster is unstable, and the radiation levels are rising. Lorraine's eyes widened. We thought we could drift here until help arrived. But if the stars go unstable... She shook her head. We would not survive. We would not survive. We would not survive. We would not survive. Laura's voice was firm. We will survive. That is why we are here. Humans do not leave people behind. The Alari exchanged glances, unsure what to make of this promise. Many had heard of humans before, in distant records and old stories, but they never expected to see it in action. Humans fought not for glory, not for reward, but simply to save lives. By late afternoon, several sections of the Alari fleet had been stabilized. Power flowed to the critical areas, life support systems ran more efficiently, and the worst of the fires and sparks had been cleared. The fleet was not safe, but it could survive long enough for the humans to plan an escape. Adam wiped his hands on his uniform and said, That's enough for now. We need to get the injured aboard our ship for treatment. These systems are still fragile, and we can't fix everything out here. Nina agreed, helping several Alari onto portable stretchers. The children and elderly were given first priority. Maria maneuvered the rescue cruiser closer, and the team began transferring the wounded carefully. Lorraine stayed behind with a small group of able-bodied Alari, helping them secure critical systems for the move. She glanced back at the humans. You are very different from other species, she said quietly. Laura smiled. We don't always make sense, but we do what is right. The Alari looked at each other. This was a new feeling for them, hope. It was fragile, but it existed. As the wounded were transferred, an alarm sounded. A nearby asteroid shifted violently, sending debris toward the fleet. Laura shouted, Everyone take cover. Maria, move us away from the path. Maria's hands moved quickly over the controls. The ship lurched, dodging fragments just in time. Carter used his shield to protect the last of the transferred Alari, pushing them out of harm's way. Sparks flew from the damaged corridors, but no one was seriously injured. Adam checked the generator readings. We're still holding, he said. But we need to move soon. This area is too dangerous for long-term survival. Laura looked at Lorraine. Can your fleet move? Even slowly? Lorraine hesitated. Some ships can. The smaller ones will need assistance. Laura nodded. Then we help them. Humans do not leave anyone behind. Over the next several hours, the humans guided the Alari fleet toward a safer region. They moved slowly, carefully stabilizing each ship as they went. Adam repaired damaged engines, while Carter and other humans moved supplies and reinforcements. Nina cared for the sick and injured, calming their fears. Lorraine observed everything, learning quickly from these strangers who risked everything for her people. The Alari began to speak among themselves in quiet tones. They had long given up hope. Now they whispered stories of the humans, saying they were unlike any species they had ever known. Brave, strong, and caring, willing to face death to protect others. By nightfall, the fleet reached a calmer region near the edge of the star cluster. The unstable stars were still visible, glowing dangerously in the distance. But for the moment, the fleet was safe. Lorraine allowed herself to breathe. We may survive this, she said softly. Laura placed a hand on her shoulder. We will survive. And when it is safe, we will get you to a place where you can rebuild. The Alari looked at her in disbelief. Rebuild? After everything they had lost, after the death of their home world, they could not imagine it. But the humans did not speak empty words. Every action they had taken proved their sincerity. Later, as the fleet rested, the humans held a brief meeting. Laura, Adam, Nina, Carter, and Maria gathered in a corner of the rescue cruiser. We can't stay here too long, Laura said. The Dominion might be tracking them. We need to prepare for the possibility of an attack. Adam nodded. I've repaired what I can for now. The fleet is stable, but the engines are weak. We'll need more time and supplies if we plan to move far. Carter leaned against the wall. If they attack, we fight. Nina added quietly, we also keep them alive. That is just as important. Maria smiled slightly. Then let's do both. We're humans. It's what we do. Meanwhile, Lorraine walked among her people. She observed them tending to the injured, cleaning broken equipment, and helping one another. They were beginning to recover some hope, even if only a little. She remembered the human words. We do what is right. Somehow, that simple promise carried more weight than anything she had learned in her life. For the first time in many days, she allowed herself a small smile. They were not alone anymore. Humans were here. They had come across the galaxy when no one else would. And for the Alari, that simple fact gave them the courage to survive. Night fell across the black void of space, and the fleet rested for the first time in days. Stars glimmered dangerously in the distance, but closer, a small group of humans and Alari huddled together, repairing, healing, and sharing quiet moments. It was not perfect. The fleet was still fragile. Danger still lurked. But hope, fragile and bright, had returned. Lorraine looked at the humans once more. Laura, Adam, Nina, Carter, and Maria. Brave, strong, and kind. They had answered a call that no one else heard. And for that, the Alari would remember them forever. In that moment, the survivors of the fleet understood something important. Humanity was not just strong. Humanity was something else entirely. They fought for life. They fought for hope. And they would not abandon anyone, no matter the cost. The journey was far from over. But for the first time, they believed they could survive. The Alari fleet rested in the calm area near the edge of the star cluster, but the quiet did not last long. Sensors on the human ship picked up strange readings. Laura Green looked at the screen and frowned. Movement ahead, she said. Adam leaned over the console. They are fast and heavily armed. I don't recognize the design. They are not friendly. Maria tightened her grip on the controls. We need to warn the Alari. They are not ready for a fight. Laura's voice was calm but firm. We fight. We protect them. That is our job. Lorraine's eyes widened as she heard the warning. Carter Hill moved to a position where he could monitor the approaching ships. We don't have much time. Prepare for engagement. The first of the enemy warships appeared, dark and menacing against the backdrop of stars. They moved quickly, closing the distance, firing warning beams that struck the fleet. Sparks and debris flew across the corridors of the smaller Alari ships. Many of the survivors froze in fear. Laura ordered, all hands ready. Adam, power the defensive shields. Carter, weapons online. Maria, maneuver us between the Alari and them. Nina, help the injured get into safe areas. The humans moved with precision. Adam rerouted energy to the shields, which hummed as they came to life. Carter checked the weapons systems, loading them with energy charges capable of disabling enemy drones. Maria guided the ship with skill, weaving between asteroids and wreckage to protect the Alari fleet. Laura walked through the corridors, giving calm instructions. Keep moving. Do not panic. We are not leaving anyone behind. We will get through this. Lorraine followed her, helping direct Alari to safer areas. The blue-skinned aliens were frightened, but seeing the humans act without fear gave them courage. Slowly, they began moving, securing weaker sections of their ships and assisting the injured. The first attack hit. A small enemy drone fired at one of the Alari ships. Sparks flew, and smoke filled the corridor. Carter shot back, disabling the drone with precision, The Alari gasped in surprise. They had expected humans to be fragile, but these beings fought with skill and determination. Adam adjusted the power flow. We can hold them off for a while, but there are too many. We need a plan to escape. Laura nodded. We will draw them away from the fleet. We cannot risk the Alari being destroyed here. She turned to Maria. Take us closer to the debris field. Use it for cover. Rument. Maria nodded, her fingers moving quickly over the controls. The ship darted toward a cluster of broken asteroids and destroyed vessels. Enemy lasers bounced off the debris, making their aim difficult. Carter fired back, striking several drones before they could get close. Nina moved among the Alari, calming them and helping those injured by stray debris. She whispered, "It will be okay. Humans are with you. They won't let anything happen." Lyrine watched, astonished at how humans could fight and heal at the same time. The battle raged for hours. Enemy ships moved with speed and aggression, trying to strike the Alari fleet before they could escape. The humans kept them at bay, using every tactic they knew. Laura directed the fleet's movement, using asteroids and debris as shields. Carter targeted the enemies with precision, while Adam monitored power to avoid system failures. Lyrine could not help but feel amazement. These humans risked themselves for strangers they barely knew. They did not hesitate, did not retreat, and did not waver. They acted as if protecting life was their highest purpose. "Why do they fight like this?" she asked softly. "They care about life," another Alari whispered. Laura saw the fleet taking damage. Small fires broke out on the Alari ships, and alarms rang through the corridors. She shouted, "Keep moving! Do not let them corner us!" Maria's ship weaved through the debris, dodging lasers and asteroids. She fired warning shots to slow the enemy, giving the Alari time to stabilize their ships. Carter used portable weapons to disable enemy drones as they approached the fleet. Adam adjusted shields for the Alari ships, rerouting power from less critical areas. Sparks flew from the panels, but the systems held. The humans worked tirelessly, coordinating defense and rescue at the same time. Nina treated injured Alari, moving them into safer areas. She worked quickly, keeping calm despite the danger surrounding her. Lyrine assisted, learning how to stabilize the wounded and calm the frightened. The enemy commander appeared on sensors, a large warship with heavy weapons. It fired a beam directly at one of the smaller Alari ships. Laura shouted, "Hold the line! Do not let them destroy any more!" Carter fired a precise shot that hit the enemy weapon system, causing it to short out. The beam dissipated, missing the Alari ship. Sparks flew from the enemy vessel as it struggled to recover. Lyrine gasped. "How? How do they do this?" she whispered. Laura glanced at her. "They never give up. That is how." The humans continued their efforts, buying time for the Alari to prepare for movement. Adam and Carter rigged several damaged Alari ships with temporary engines, enough to move them slowly. Maria guided the human ship, blocking enemy fire and creating safe paths through the debris. Slowly, the fleet began moving, guided by humans. Lyrine watched as her people followed instructions, repairing damaged sections and assisting each other. Fear was still present, but hope was growing. The enemy commander grew frustrated. "Why do they fight like this?" he asked his officers. "They are only humans. They should be weak, easily destroyed." "They are not ordinary," an officer said. "Their skill is unmatched. They protect others as if it is their duty." The commander gritted his teeth. "Then destroy them. Leave no survivors." The humans responded with calm precision. Laura directed maneuvers that put their ships behind asteroids, striking the enemy from unexpected angles. Carter and Adam used every available weapon to disable drones and slow larger ships. Maria's piloting was flawless, dodging attacks and keeping the Alari safe. Nina's work inside the fleet kept the injured alive, moving them to safer areas and stabilizing life support. Liraine moved among her people, helping them and learning from the humans. She realized that humans were not just strong, they were clever, patient, and fearless. Hours passed. The battle was long, exhausting, and dangerous. Many Alari ships were damaged, but none were destroyed. Slowly, the enemy began to retreat, realizing they could not defeat the humans and their allies. Laura ordered, "Keep them moving. Don't let them regroup. We are not safe yet." Maria guided the fleet through a narrow asteroid field, where the enemy dared not follow. Carter fired one last barrage, disabling several drones and leaving the enemy scattered. Adam rerouted power to ensure the shields held, and Nina continued treating the injured. Finally, the enemy retreated, disappearing into the darkness. The fleet was battered, but alive. Liraine looked around, astonished. Her people were still breathing. Her people were safe. And the humans had made it possible. She approached Laura. I don't know how to thank you. We thought we would die. You risked everything for us." Laura smiled softly. "We don't do it for thanks. We do it because it is right. You are alive, and that is enough." The Alari looked at each other in awe. They had seen other species ignore their cries for help. They had expected death. But humans had come across the galaxy, fought an enemy, and saved them. Liraine's eyes glistened. "Humans, you are different. You fight for life itself." Laura nodded. "That is what we do, and we will continue to do it." As night fell across space, the fleet regrouped. Damage was assessed, systems were repaired, and the injured were treated. The humans worked tirelessly, refusing to rest until every Alari had shelter, food, and medical care. The Alari began to understand something new about the galaxy. Many civilizations abandoned them. Many feared conflict. But humans answered a call no one else would. They fought, they healed, and they never gave up. Liraine walked among her people. She saw hope returning, even if only a little. She had sent a plea into the galaxy, and someone had heard. And not just anyone. Humans, brave and relentless, had come. The fleet would move again soon. The Dominion was still out there, waiting, hunting. But the Alari had learned something important. They were not alone. Humanity was with them. And with humans, survival was possible. For the first time since their world was destroyed, the Alari allowed themselves to hope. The stars outside were still dangerous, the darkness vast and endless. But inside the fleet, a small light burned bright. Humans had arrived. They had fought. And they had won. And now, the journey to safety had truly begun.